This week, one night when she should have been doing her homework, my 15-year-old daughter, Catherine, was in her room fashioning a cardboard sign which read, "We are running out of time." In advance of today's climate strike, children across the city and across the world did the same. Thousands upon thousands of adolescent doomsday prophets breaking out their art supplies and walking out of their classrooms to remind us that the end is near. At a pre-rally gathering at the JCC this morning, Catherine told the crowd, "I'm left pondering the question whether having children is even ethical. Is it morally right to raise children in a world that is falling apart at the seams? If action is not taken now, it will be too late for our children's generation. We protest now so we don't fail our children the way our parents' and grandparents' generation failed us. We are running out of time and we must use every minute wisely." She explained the kids who will be marching in New York City today are not just looking out for our futures. We're speaking for kids who live in parts of the world that are already being affected by climate change and who don't have the power or the privilege that we have. It's not the wealthy communities, not the communities of many outspoken advocates that will be hit hardest by our climate crisis, but rather those communities across the world who are struck by poverty, who don't have a way out, whose voices aren't heard. We speak for them. I have to say that hearing that from my daughter punched me in the gut. Wake up, our kids are telling us we are running out of time. For those of us who attended the climate strike today, this week's Torah portion feels eerily familiar. The book of Deuteronomy hurtles towards its end, and there is a mounting sense of urgency because Moses knows that the people are about to enter the land of milk and honey, a place of bounty and blessing, and that it is the nature of people in times of abundance to revel in it and to lose their focus on what matters most. So he tells them when they enter the land, when they have grown their very first fruits, they can't consume them right away. Instead, they must take those first precious fruits and bring them to the priests to be offered back to God, acknowledging God's role in bringing them out of Egypt and into the land. He then devises a spectacular ritual to make sure that everyone understands what is at stake. When they enter the land, Moses says, the Israelites are to divide themselves between two mountains as the Levites recite a series of blessings and curses that will befall them depending on whether they listen to God's word. There's nothing to focus the attention like being forced to climb a mountain and then be cursed at. He instructs the Israelites what will happen if they don't obey God. Adonai will strike you with scorching heat and drought, with blight and mildew. They shall hound you until you perish. The skies above your head shall be copper, and the earth under you iron. Adonai will make the rain of your land dust, and sand shall drop on you from the sky. Because you would not serve Adonai your God in joy and gladness over the abundance of everything, you shall have to serve in hunger and in thirst, naked and lacking everything, the enemies whom Adonai will let loose against you. God will put an iron yoke upon your neck until God has wiped you out. If we don't serve God in joy and gladness over the abundance of everything the Torah tells us, if we don't act out of respect and gratitude for God's bounty as the Israelites were told to do with their first fruits, if we consume and consume and consume without remembering that the earth is not our creation and does not belong to us alone, then the very earth will turn against us with heat and drought and dust raining from the sky, cursing the futures of our children. It was no doubt difficult for the Israelites, fresh from 40 years of wandering, to give up that first fruit they were able to grow in the land that they had been promised. It took sacrifice and humility. It took discipline and gratitude for abundance. It took an ability to look beyond immediate desires and a willingness to delay gratification so that they could remain in relationship with the divine force that had given them life. The current moment demands the same of us. As Catherine said this afternoon, I, along with thousands of people across New York City and across the world, will go to do what I can to fight for the climate. Kids shouldn't have to be in charge of fixing this problem, but we can't afford not to. Our futures are at stake. The chants that rose up today may have sounded like, hey, hey, ho, ho, climate change has got to go. But they were an echo of an ancient warning that we will read in next week's Torah portion. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your children might live. We live in a land of milk and honey, but we have lost our way. Our children have scaled the mountains on either side of us and are calling us, reminding us of the curses that we are bringing down upon their heads through our unwillingness to curb our endless consumption of the resources that God has given us. Wake up, they call. Wake up. We are running out of time.